Good evening, race fans, and welcome back to the Attrition Sim Race Campus Oval Series. Tonight, not only do we round out our final race of season number 8, but we also round out our final race of the 2022 racing season, and in all, we'll be crowning our champion for season number 8. I don't want to make any definitive statements on this because it's entirely possible that my math is wrong, but it does look like the championship has been decided already in terms of points. It is very close in the standings, but I think with how drop weeks play out, Brian Sabelski, who is coming into this race as the points leader, effectively has secured the championship by showing up. But that's not going to stop these drivers from putting on a very exciting race here tonight. Our second place driver here in the standings, Tyler McRae, still has another achievement to get under his belt, even if it is potentially not the championship. He could be looking to tie with the most ever wins here in the ASRC Oval Series in a single season. He's already got 5 wins under his belt. South Boston here tonight could make that number 6 for him. So Sabelski and McRae, two drivers that we are definitely going to have to be keeping our eyes on here tonight. Both of them have been putting on quite the show throughout this season, and I think that we are going to be crowning it off on a very exciting note. That said, if anyone would like to come out here and race with Attrition Sim Race Campus, we will be taking an off week next week and then getting ready for season number 9 of the Oval Series for the 2023 season in 2 weeks. If you want to check us out, go to @ASRCRacing on twitter.com or go to www.asrcracing.com or just look us up on the iRacing League directory. That is Attrition Sim Race Campus. But that said, looks like qualifying is just about in the books, so let's take it down trackside and see what these drivers are going to be doing to start things off here in South Boston, Virginia. Starting out on the pole this evening, going to be the number 45 of Travis Sukup, teammate of P number 2 of Tyler McRae in that 99, both drivers for Droppin' Bombs Racing. Back in P number 3, going to be Steven Rex in the 10, making his second ever appearance this season, and he is actually also running for the Droppin' Bombs Racing team. Back in P number 4, that's going to be the 85 NTO entry of Brian Sabelski, our soon-to-be champion, if my math is correct. Of course, that is a very big if. 5th place going to go back to that 70 machine of Jason Mong. 6th place going to go to the 14 of Mr. Nico Morelli. 7th place going to go back to League Admin number 93, Jason Gardner. 8th place going to go to Garrett Streets for Street Stims Racing. He's actually P number 3 in the championship standings right now in that number 15 machine, but unfortunately he is mathematically not possible to get the championship, and I don't believe it's actually possible for him to get to P number 2 either, but we will have to keep an eye on that. Back into the 9th position, our international driver out of Canada. That's going to be the 38 Liqui Moly entry for Beefy Motorsports. Back in the 10th position, going to be the 48 of Robert Kelm out of Texas. And finally, rounding out this 11 car field tonight, going to be the A&W entry of Bill Watkins in the number 7 machine. So, going to be 101 laps up on the board here around this 4/10 of a mile long track. Pace car is going to pull itself off here this time. Green flag in hand. We're going racing here at the South Boston Speedway. The outside line actually having a pretty solid start. Tyler McRae in that number 99 machine getting off to a good start and immediately contact a bit of trouble back in the midfield. I believe that might have been Nico Morelli that scraped the outside wall just a little bit in that number 14 machine. I could be mistaken, but that is what it looked like. Also, potentially Garrett Streets in the 15 could have had a little bit of contact there too, but already lap number 2 down in the books, starting to single file out just a little bit, but not entirely. Jason Gardner looking to make a move on Jason Mong. Scratch that, Jason Mong having a little bit of transponder issues. It looked like he's going to go all the way back to the 11th position. Currently down 6 spots from where he qualified. Mong may have potentially had a little bit of a technical issue there in that number 70 machine, but still a long race ahead of him for him to try and get some of these spots back under his belt. A little bit further up in the field, speaking of Jason Gardner, he's starting to get pressure from behind from the number 48 of Robert Kelm, but it looks like the caution's going to come out. That is the 14 of Nico Morelli around. Let's see if we can't take a look back here and see what happened to the driver of that number 14 Justin Wilson Memorial entry. Alright, looking back here, it looks like he might have just gotten loose on the corner and lost the rear end. Just like that, South Boston can be a bit of a tricky track, especially on these colder tires, and sometimes just that little bit is all it takes to send the car spinning around. Let's get an onboard view here with the driver of the number 14, heading down into turn number 4, and just the rear end completely slid out on him. No contact with any other cars or the outside wall though, so Morelli going to be able to keep it rolling in that number 14 machine, but definitely not how he wanted this race to start here tonight, race fans. Only 3 laps in the books when that yellow flag came out. So, Nico Morelli going to be scored back to the 10th position after himself. Brian Sabelski, Brandon Feeney, and Garrett Streets all came down pit lane under this caution. That's going to send the 4 of them back to the back of the field. Fuel, of course, is going to be a bit of a factor here tonight. We will have to see how these drivers decide to play their strategies out. Fuel, a requirement, but tires are optional. There is, of course, 1 set of extra tires here for drivers in the ASRC Oval Series, so we will have to see if any of these drivers decide to come down and be takers here tonight. iRacing.com pace car is off. Green flag up in the air here again. Teammates side by side down into turn number 1 and nearly 3 wide. A little bit of trouble back in the back. That was the 70 of Mong, it looked like, that had some trouble back there, but that's got the whole field checking up just a little bit, getting themselves sort of straightened out side by side down into turn number 3. That's going to be Garrett Streets and Bill Watkins in the 15 and the 7. Drivers starting to get themselves sorted out here for the most part. Nico Morelli, the driver that spun out and brought out that first caution, getting pressure again from behind from Brian Sabelski, looking like a little bit of a repeat of how the last caution came out, as he got a little bit loose coming out of 4 there. Brian Sabelski gonna be making the pass down on the low line. Nico Morelli gonna get pushed way up high from that little bit of a slide through turn number 4 last time by. That's going to bump him down to the 7th position, only a spot down from where he qualified, so not too major of a position change between those 2 incidents. That said, as we come around this time again, we're only going to be on lap number 15, so still plenty of time for things to either make or break these drivers' races. And speaking of making or breaking drivers' races, it looks like that number 93 machine of Jason Gardner is down on pit lane. Looks like this is a bit of an unscheduled pit stop. It says that he had to take the tow to pit lane, actually. So let's see if we can't take a quick look and see what happened to that number 93 machine of Jason Gardner. Gonna pull it on down to pit lane and bring it on down to his pit stall. I'm not sure why it said that he had to take the tow, because it looks like he drove it down to his pit stall perfectly fine. Oh, never mind that. It looks like he might have actually missed his pit stall and ended up on the wrong pit lane, and that's why he had to take the tow in that number 93 machine. Green flag still up in the air, though. Currently looking at the battle for the 5th position between Brandon Feeney and Brian Sabelski. Feeney, one of the drivers that is relatively new here to the ASRC Oval Series. He's a driver that I compete along with on Thursday nights in a different short track oval league, and he decided to come on over here and get a little bit under the ropes of another short track series and not have to worry about me running him off the track, because sure enough, I can't break his car from up here in the booth, although I have done that plenty of times down in the league where I compete with him. Along with that, though, driver out of Canada and a real-life driver at that Canadian flag number 38. The paint scheme that he runs in real life that he's got put on this car here on the iRacing.com platform as well. Really great to see, and frankly, I think it's really unique, so I totally dig it. A little bit further ahead, Robert Kelm also getting pressure from behind from Feeney. These three drivers under a blanket for 4th, 5th, and 6th, and Nico Morelli also just a little bit further behind. Not all that much, but just a tad bit, and looks like Brandon Feeney going to give a little bit of a love tap to the rear end of Robert Kelm. Letting him know, hey, I'm here and might just be a little bit faster than you. South Boston, and incredibly narrow track, one of the most narrow tracks that we go to here in the ASRC Oval Series, and dare I say one of the most narrow tracks on the iRacing.com platform, so making passes can be a major hassle, but at 38 and the 85 both going to make it happen as Robert Kelm gets stuck up on the high line. Nico Morelli going to look and see if he can't sneak his way under there as well, while these two drivers have him pushed up high. Side by side, heading down the backstretch and coming down into turn number 3. Nico Morelli looking to see if he can't try and snake his way in there. It looks like Kelm now having a bit of connection issues as well. Another little scrape against the wall for that driver of the 48, as it looks like he is having a little bit of connection issues as well. Looks like that is going to also be the cause for Jason Gardner retiring for the evening, saying that he is having connection problems and does not want to run the risk of making contact with any of the championship contending drivers, which is totally understandable. Very unfortunate to see the 93 machine retiring on the final race of the season that early on, especially when back in season number 7 Jason Gardner finished in 3rd place at this track. And funnily enough, this was actually the same track that we crowned the season 7 champion at. For the most part, the ASRC Oval Series follows the same schedule of the official series that corresponds with it, so in this case the official late model series. So for the most part the calendar lines up the same, and the official series, I believe, is how we ended up with South Boston being the championship event 2 seasons in a row. But honestly, it kind of works out because this is a very challenging track for these drivers. We've already seen a handful of incidents and a handful of heavy impacts with the wall, and I'm sure there will be more to come as we cross about a third of the way through this race. Up in the front, Tyler McRae is leading the race here tonight in that number 99 machine, driving one of the most classic drop-in bombs paint schemes he has. For the most part, we've seen him in different paint schemes all throughout the season, but I'd say this one that he's running now is probably the one that we know him best for in that 99. Of course, right behind him, his teammate of Travis Sukup running a not matching paint scheme, but a paint scheme for the same team, both drivers for Drop-in Bombs Racing, and back in the third position of Steven Rex, also running for Drop-in Bombs as well. I'll tell you what, these two teammates, they practice together, they share setups, tips together, and the two of them have been putting on some amazing runs throughout this season. Tyler McRae coming into this race in the second place in the championship standings. I don't believe that he will be able to pick up the championship even if he does win this race, but he is looking to try and tie for the most wins in a single season in that number 99 machine. If he manages to pull it off, that will be putting him at 6 wins this season, which is an incredibly impressive feat, and an even more impressive feat considering he is a driver that does not compete in ASRC full time. He has not been able to make all of the races here this evening, and that's actually probably why he won't be able to pick up the championship, just because Brian Sabelski has been here every single week, and every single week he has had incredibly solid finishes. So coming to this race, Sabelski only has 2 wins under his belt compared to McRae's 5, but he's coming into this race with a 22-point lead and a 27-point drop week to lean on as a bit of a safety net. So Sabelski has gotten himself up here, but McRae has not put in any lack of effort throughout this season. He has put on just an incredible season, and I definitely look forward to seeing what he has to offer in season number 9 of the ASRC Oval Series. A little bit further back in the back, seeing a bit of a battle breaking out between Robert Kelm and Jason Mong. It looks like Kelm going to be heading down onto pit lane in that number 48 machine, and he's immediately going to be taking the tow, and he is instantly retiring for the race. So it looks like Robert Kelm going to be calling it quits for an evening here as well. That's going to be leaving us with 9 cars on the speedway here tonight. McRae, Sukup, Rex, Sabelski, Morelli, Streets, Feeney, Mong, and Watkins. Going to be those 9 drivers still out on the speedway. Just a little under halfway to go here tonight, and currently the closest battle on the speedway is actually the battle for the lead between these 2 teammates. Tyler McRae did not start on the pole here tonight. That was going to go to his teammate of Travis Sukup, and I'll tell you what, these 2 drivers have been duking it out throughout this entire race, pretty much within, call it 2 to 3 tenths of a second with each other for the entire event, and both of them have built up a nearly 3-second lead to the car behind them of Steven Rex. So very dominant display by these 2 drivers. Drop-in Bombs Racing definitely has a whole lot of good folks working on these late model stock cars, getting the setups figured out, getting the practice laps turned, and showing up being incredibly ready for just about whatever the racetrack has to throw at them. As we cross the line here, we're going to be halfway through the race here. And if Tyler McRae leads many more laps, then he will be picking up bonus points under his belt for having the most laps led here tonight. Unfortunately, like I said, it does look like Sabelski has the championship pretty much clinched here this evening. But that's not going to stop McRae from picking up as many points as he is able to do so in that number 99 machine, just to make a point and say that he did, and maybe let these drivers know that he may be looking for a championship again next season as well. A little bit further back in the field, Street's starting to put the pressure down on that 14 machine of Nico Morelli. Morelli's picked up a couple of podiums here throughout the season, and Streets does have one win under his belt, putting him up into the 3rd position here tonight in the championship standings. Currently 20 points back from Tyler McRae in that number 15 machine. Streets has been having a really good season this season as well, and frankly, it's kind of crazy to be able to talk about the fact that on one hand we had Tyler McRae picking up what could be 6 wins in a single season, when it feels like just a couple of weeks ago one of the big talking points was how many different drivers have managed to pick up a win. McRae has 5 wins under his belt, Sabelski has 2, Streets has 1, Jason Mong, back in the 8th position, has 1 as well. And then Anthony Nadell and Asa Spears also have 1 respectively. So that's 6 drivers that have picked up wins this season in just a 12-week season. I'd say that is pretty good, and frankly, it's really nice to see all the diversity of drivers out here all managing to put out good competitive races and all having a whole lot of fun doing it in the process. Speaking of drivers with wins under the belt, just a little bit further behind, Jason Mong looking to see if he can't try and get around that number 38 Liqui entry of Brandon Feeney. Feeney currently up 2 spots from where he qualified, so all things considered having himself a fairly decent race, but it does not look like he's having much luck with getting the corner speeds that he is wanting out of that 38 machine, and Jason Mong going to be pulling it down low and going to be executing the pass that time by. That's going to bump Feeney down to the 8th position, but still up a spot from where he qualified, so still a little bit of improvement under the belt one way or another. That said, as we are 62 laps into this race, getting very close to being 2/3 of the way through it, Watkins, Mong, Rex, Sukup, and McRae, so your top 3, P number 7 and P number 9, all have not pitted yet. So we could potentially see this field getting pretty shaken up depending on how these fuel stops pay out. There always is the question of, did Feeney, did Kelm, did Rex and Sabelski and Morelli all actually get enough fuel in their late models in that lap number 3 pit stop, or will they have to come back down and get another splash of gas under the hoods for these late model stock cars? Very, very interesting, and frankly, I think maybe a little bit of a daring call by some of these drivers, so we will have to see just what they have in store for one another. We have seen races come down to pit strategies before, and we've seen races themselves come down to pit strategies as well. Back at the, I want to say, Concord Speedway last season, I believe, Johnny Bell managed to pick himself up a 2nd place finish because he managed to run a completely different strategy from all the other drivers and actually managed to stay out of the pits the entire race and finish the race on fumes. And no one thought he was going to be able to do it, and that got him a 2nd place finish. So you never know what these drivers just have cooking up in their pit stalls with their respective crew chiefs, and definitely something to keep an eye on and see how those roll out, because those can be a very deciding factor for these races sometimes. Sometimes it just does not come down to purely how fast you are, but also if you can out-strategize your opponents. Up in P number 3, speaking of drivers that are having pretty solid runs, Steven Rex for Dropping Bombs Racing in that Harrison's USA entry, starting to get pressure from behind from Brian Sabelski. Brian in that 85 NTO entry. Twitch.tv/Nihon Tiger in that 85 machine. He should be streaming his perspective of this race, and for the most part he streams his perspective of all of his races here with ASRC. So if you want to check out an onboard camera of one of our drivers, be sure to go to twitch.tv/Nihon Tiger. These two drivers side by side, lap after lap. Sabelski trying to use that low line and try and make a pass, but Rex is not making it easy for him. Something to consider though, Sabelski is pitted and Rex hasn't, so if Rex ends up needing to come down into pit lane, then that could be the deciding factor of this battle. That said, Sabelski has executed the pass, but still a 7-second deficit that he needs to make up to catch up to McRae and Sukup, and only 25 laps left to go to try and do that. Going to be quite the tall task for the driver of that number 85 machine, but you never know. We have seen stranger things happen before in this league, so we'll just have to see how these drivers manage to play things out. Sabelski currently is the highest driver on the leaderboard to have already made a pit stop, and he pitted all the way back on lap number 6, so only 6 laps more fuel under the hood of that 85 machine as compared to the rest of the cars in the field. We will have to see, is that 6 laps going to be enough to make it work for him? Going to be 24 to go this time by. The clock is ticking for these drivers. Side by side, heading down into turn number 4. That's Streets and Morelli coming down the front stretch here. Streets making that low line try and work for him. For the most part, we've seen just about every overtake happen down on the low end of the speedway here, but Morelli actually making that middle and higher groove work for him, and Morelli is actually one of the drivers that we have seen really trying to utilize the high line these past couple of races. And while he is currently back in the 5th position, so not up on the podium, it does seem to be working out for him to be holding on to this position and keeping Streets behind him. Going to be 20 laps to go this time by, so not a whole lot of time left for these drivers. Those 20 laps gonna go by a whole lot faster than you realize sometimes. That said, still plenty of time for a caution to come out, and that could drastically change the face of this race. Tyler McRae still holding on to the lead right now in that number 99. Currently, him and Sukup working their way around lap traffic. That's going to be the number 38 of Brandon Feeney. They also got around Bill Watkins just a little bit ago. And next in their sights, gonna be Jason Mong and Garrett Streets. But both these drivers still have a little bit of breathing room under their hoods. Currently, drivers setting lap times roughly in the 16-second range, so that's still 4 seconds of track space between Mong and McRae and Sukup. So that's not too much to start worrying about yet. That's about, call it roughly half a straightaway between the 99 and the 70. And we've, of course, all season been seeing lap traffic be really respectful, always trying to stay out of the way of the leaders and let them sort their race out themselves. So I would not be surprised if McRae and Sukup both manage to navigate their way around these lap cars without any issue. That said, it looks like the gloves may be starting to come off. Travis Sukup starting to send the car in real deep, almost completely down on the apron, down in turn number 4 there to try and get around his teammate and race leader of Tyler McRae. 13 laps to go, and The move is going to cost Sukup a little bit of time, but he is still absolutely digging with everything he's got under that hood of the 45 machine to try and get around his teammate. Really trying to utilize the apron for a little bit of extra rotation, which can be a very risky move from time to time. But as the gap closes back down to, call it 0.2 of a second there, he could just be making it work for him. You can see those lap cars about, call it, a quarter and a little bit of the straightaway up in front of these cars. Big double high fives up in the air, 10 laps to go. Gonna be making that 9 actually this time by. Cebulski still 8 seconds behind these two drivers, so not looking like a whole lot of hope for Cebulski to take the lead unless a caution were to come out, which of course still entirely possible. I said very interesting to see that there are 8 laps left to go, and neither McRae or Sukup are coming down to pit lane, and it does not look like either of them have the intention to do so before this race is over. Gonna be making that 7 to go now, and I would think that if either of these drivers are concerned about fuel, then they would have pitted for fuel already, because, I mean, 7 laps to go. Under green flag pit stops, that's going to put both of them down a lap if they had to pit. 6 to go now. Still the lead complete dominated by McRae and Sukup. Both these drivers having a very considerable lead over the rest of the field as the big high five goes up in the air. 5 laps to go, and currently just about the closest battle on the speedway right now. Gonna be making that 4 to go this time by Sukup, really trying to push and see if he has anything to give to his teammate, but it's just not happening. McRae has that low line completely locked down in that number 99. Might take a little bit of a push to try and get around him. A little bit of a tap to the rear end of that 99 machine, but that's going to require getting to it first. And with 3 laps to go, Sukup does not have a whole lot of time left to try and make this happen. 2 to go this time by. Still roughly 0.2 of a second between these two cars. They are nose to tail, lap after lap after lap. Coming through turns 3 and 4. White flag going to go up the air. The 45 actually got a little bit loose through the corner there. And yeah, sure enough, it looks like Sukup's not going to have anything to give to McRae. Coming out of turn number 4, Tyler McRae going to be picking up his 6th win of the season and tying the record for most Oval Series wins in a single season. And it looks like Brian Cebulski is going to be our 2022 Season 4, also known as Season 8 in total, ASRC Oval Series champion. We'll be right back in just a moment, race fans, and then we will get a word with your race winner and the rest of the podium here tonight. Alrighty, race fans, welcome back. 101 laps of late model action here at South Boston in the books here tonight. And starting us off here tonight, gonna be our race winner here tonight. That's gonna be your sixth win of the season, which should be tying you with the record for the most amount of wins in a single season here in the ASRC Oval Series. How are you feeling tonight, Mr. McRae?
Feeling pretty good, man. My teammates are pretty awesome. Working together, trying to get the things right. Mike kind of took it easy on me, trying to give me the best shot I can if I had any chance for the championship at all. I don't know how the points were going to lay out. I think Brian said he ended up, he thinks he got it, so I already congratulated him. Um, but man, they're a lot of help. They're a lot of fun working on setups together. And, a full, I'll say green flag run. That one caution, you can't pit that early when you're up front. And just kind of hanging on at the end. My right rear is pretty gone. So that was about it.
Yeah, you managed to put on a very impressive run tonight, and frankly, I think that's a good way to cap off an incredibly impressive season for you. I mean, 6 wins is no laughing matter by any means. What do you think you might have needed to do differently to try and take the championship out from Mr. Sibelski here tonight?
I probably needed to know. I probably should have looked into the points a couple weeks ago because you were getting a point, I think, for the pole, 0x, and most laps led. And I was just trying to do what I can and win. That was really it. I didn't care about X's or anything. So I could have maybe done that or definitely started at the beginning of the season. I mean, that'll give me my best shot at any, for anyone. But it was fun. It was fun out here. I love South Boston. This wasn't the best race tonight. I think we've had a few more that were pretty fun and we were bumper to bumper, all of us. But overall, it was a good time. The races I had with the ASRC League.
Yeah, well, it has definitely been great having you out here, and of course, congratulations on your sixth win this season. And here is to 2023 season number one. You got any particular plans heading into next season?
I'm not sure. They're talking about possibility of this car or that car, so we'll see how it all works out. But I definitely want to thank the all the competitors and all the work they put in their cars, and hopefully they had a pretty good time too. And of course the league and um, congratulate Brian again for winning. That's pretty cool. And to finish second, that's pretty cool from being 0 points after a couple races in. So that's fun. And definitely Mike, I'm not sure where he ended up in points, maybe fourth or maybe third. But it's a lot of fun working with him on the setups and Steve too.
Yeah, well, it's been a blast having you out here, Mr. McRae, and I hope to see you next season.
Sure thing. I appreciate you. Have a good night.
You too. And finishing back in P number 2, that's going to be the 45 of Mr. Travis Sukup, the teammate in question that Tyler McRae has been talking all about. How are you feeling now that you've got 101 laps around this South Boston Speedway under your belt here tonight?
Good, good. Had a good time. It was a lot of fun. I was just trying to run, make sure Brian couldn't catch us. I know he usually comes towards the end.
Well, it certainly seemed to work out. Unfortunately, does not look like you managed to pick up any wins this season, but you have had a whole lot of podiums throughout this season, and I'm sure that you are bound to be picking up a couple heading into 2023 season number one. You got any particular feelings about the proposed rumors of what car we may or may not be working with next season?
No, I don't personally care. I think they're all fun. Either one is to be a new challenge if it's something I haven't run before.
Fair enough. Well, I certainly looking forward to seeing you out here next season. Before we send you off, though, is there anyone you'd like to thank on the side of that 45 machine for getting you here in second place?
Like always, I think Tyler's the one that kind of helps me out because I'm still kind of green with the whole iRacing thing. And actually, tonight we were running two completely different setups, but we seemed pretty close. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was certainly a blast having you out here, and I look forward to seeing you next season.
All right, man. We appreciate what you do, man.
And finally, rounding out our podium here tonight, I believe if the math is correct, which it should be, gonna be now four-time Oval Series champion, Mr. Brian Sabelski. How are you feeling having done it again here tonight at the South Boston Speedway?
Feeling pretty good. That I was kind of in this position where I had to drive from the back after the pit stop, and to go from 11th to third over the course of that long green flag run, I think was really good. I think Tyler's right. If he'd been running since the start of the season, he'd probably be celebrating the championship instead of me. He's incredibly consistent and fast driver. Yeah, take my hat off to him. He's got he got 6 wins on the season. That's not easy to do. He makes it look easy week in and week out, and he does so very clean driver, very fair racer. I think he's definitely probably I would say he's probably the favorite for whatever it is we run next season.
Yeah, I've got to say, my hat is off to all of y'all out in the field. You all have put on a very good season at least from my perspective up here in the booth. It has definitely been a blast seeing you all compete week in and week out, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you all have in store for season number 9. Regardless of what car we end up using, I think it should be a fun one.
I think so too. I think it's going to be interesting.
Of course, before we send you out here tonight and let you go celebrate your 4th championship here with ASRC, is there anyone you'd like to thank on the side of that number 85 machine for getting you here?
First and foremost, thanks to you for doing all the broadcasting work, Jason for doing the league, actual admin work and all that, the hard stuff with the points and whatnot, and putting it all together. Everyone hanging out here on the Twitch channel, hello. Whoever the heck I'm gonna race in this next fixed race that I'm doing, because apparently 100 laps around South Boston and this car was not enough. I'm gonna go do 50 at Five Flags. And gosh, who else? Everyone who's been showing up for the league, no matter how many races it's been. Folks at McConey Setup Shop for all their help. Folks that Take This and Pause Your Game, who are the two charities I work with, help me kind of do what I do. My girlfriend for supporting me in this sometimes feels like silly endeavor. Yeah.
Good deal. Well, thanks for coming out, Brian, and congrats on your 4th championship. That's certainly quite the impressive feat, and I look forward to seeing you in season number 9.
Yes, indeed. I'll catch you later.
Good deal. Have a good evening. And you heard it here first, race fans. That's going to be your top 3 finishers here this evening, including our 4-time ASRC Oval Series champion. That's a very impressive feat by the driver of that number 85 machine. But before we head off, not just for the evening, but for the entire season, we will go ahead and pull up our official race results here tonight. Picking up the win, going to be the 6th win under this driver's belt this season. It's going to go to the number 99 of Tyler McRae. Back in P number 2, going to be his teammate in that number 45 machine. That's going to be Mr. Travis Sukup, also for Dropping Bombs Racing. Back in P number 3, going to be the 85 of Brian Sabelski, our 4th-time champion here this season. Back in 4th place, going to be the 10 machine of Steven Rex, followed by Nico Morelli in the 14, back in the 5th position. 6th place going to go back to Mr. Garrett Streets in the 15 machine, followed by Jason Mong in the 70, back in P number 7. 8th place going to go to the 38 of Brandon Feeney for Beefy Motorsports, followed by the 7 of Bill Watkins, back in the 9th position. Following them, rounding out the field here tonight, going to be the number 48 of Robert Kelm in the 10th position, and Jason Gardner in that number 93 machine, rounding out the field here tonight. And of course, I got to extend a big thank you to ASRC for letting me broadcast for them and putting on such a good show for these past 24 weeks now that I have been broadcasting for their league. And of course, the entire, call it, year and a half that I've been racing for them prior to me starting to do these broadcasts. So big thank you to Johnny and Jason and everyone who puts this community together. And I look forward to seeing everyone in 2023 season number 1. We will be taking a week off next week, and then we should be coming back the week after that. So stay tuned to hear about that. And of course, if you want to join ASRC, now would be the perfect opportunity now that we've got the new season starting up in just a couple of weeks. Be sure to go to www.asrcracing.com or check out at ASRC Racing on Twitter, or just look up Attrition Sim Race Campus on the iRacing League directory. But that's all we've got for y'all here tonight. Thank you all for joining me here for ASRC Oval Series Season number 8, and I will see you all next time. Have a good evening, race fans.